Hey, and welcome back to the I'm Talking podcast. I'm your host, Ailani, and I'm so excited to bring you this episode this week because I will be spilling all the tea on whether or not relationships are overrated. And I was having this conversation about last week. Speaking of last week, I had a sucky last week. I hope everybody else had a great week last week, but for me, my week was pretty trash. I have not been feeling well for maybe a week and a half now. Like I don't have COVID, but I've just been feeling super sick. Well, I mean not even sick, but just like I've had migraines and just like super fatigued. Like I've just been feeling like crap. And then on top of that, the weather's been trash, and when the weather's usually sucky, I don't want to do anything. Like, I'm one of those people that the weather affects my mood. So, it's been raining the past week, and I have not been motivated to do anything. I don't even think I went to the gym. I think I went to the gym maybe like once. And then my boyfriend's sister came over for the weekend, and that was pretty fun. Like, we just chilled, watched some movies. We watched Blade 1 and 2. Two is the best one if you watch Blade. Two has like the best action. So two is the best one. We watched those, and then she's into a lot of like anime, Korean shows, Thai shows, and like that BTS group. I think they're called. I don't know, that little like boy group. So she got me to watch this show, Girl from Nowhere, on Netflix. It's a Thai drama, and we were hooked. Like, I'm not gonna lie, I'm about to start watching season 2 because it was really like season 1 was really good. It was kind of scandalous. I'm not gonna lie. She's only a sophomore in high school. I didn't think she was gonna be watching these type of shows, but it was pretty good. Um, so yeah, that's what I did. That's pretty much it. But anyway, back to the episode. Back to my topic. I feel like relationships are overrated, and I'll give you a couple of reasons why. Like, being young, I always watched Disney princess movies. I always watched like Disney Channel and all those shows, and being young like that, I was always fed the fairy tale type of lifestyle. And not only me, I think society as a whole feeds people this like fairy tale where you are gonna go through life, you're gonna find your person, they're gonna love you, you're gonna be so happy, you're gonna have such a beautiful life of fulfillment. You're gonna have this white picket fence, a family, you're just gonna be like wonderful, right? And unfortunately, that's not how things work. And with society putting all of those kind of like expectations on us, um, people tend to grow up thinking this is how it's going to be. Now, for me, I'm not going to lie, I didn't think that I was going to have a fairy tale life. Like, being a girl, and I don't know if a lot of you dreamed when you were little about like your wedding and all stuff, but I didn't. Like, when I was little, I was not thinking about the day that I would get married, walking down the aisle with a like wedding dress. Don't get me wrong, I was in a lot of weddings when it came to like my family members. Like, I was always a flower girl, or like the ring bearer, or I don't know, whatever else I was doing. But I was in a lot of weddings. I was even in my own parents' wedding. And like, marriage is a beautiful thing, weddings are beautiful, but I just didn't picture that. Like, that just wasn't what I was thinking about when I was little. I know a lot of people do think about that, but just for me, I wasn't. But this still was like an underlining like pressure, especially when I got to high school. Like, I started high school, and I was like, when I started my freshman year of high school, I honestly wasn't looking for boys. I wasn't looking to find a boyfriend or anything. And I didn't have one all through my freshman year of high school. Like, I was comfortable with talking to the boys that I was interested in, but that's really that all that went on. I wasn't like, hey, I'm your girlfriend, you're my boyfriend type. Um, I pretty much just spoke to whoever I wanted to speak to on just some like, you know, talking about, I think, like I just had a couple conversations talking about like music, we would talk about sports, just like things like that, never anything super, super intimate. And then sophomore year of high school, towards the end, I had transferred to another school. So at this point, like, I'm a little upset because my school was not fun. Like, the school that I transferred to from the city to Long Island, I'm not gonna lie, I hated that school. And I hated it for multiple reasons. Like, it was a super small school compared to the school that I was used to going to. And the people there were like, I don't know, just not that I feel like I'm uppity or, better than everybody else, but they just weren't my type of crowd compared to the people that I was friends with back in the city. So I kind of just did my own thing until I met this kid. And from the end of sophomore year to the end of senior year, we were kind of like on and off. And to be honest, looking back at it, I wouldn't even call it a relationship. And like, I don't know what I was really even doing with him. Like, he was a bozo. And I don't mean that in a disrespectful way. I just mean it like in terms of like the honest truth. Like, he was a bozo. My parents didn't like him. I don't even like, to be honest, I didn't even really like him. Like, I don't know why I stood with him. And I think that society had a lot to play into that because I was in school and I didn't have friends like that when I was in school in Long Island. So I didn't go to like the parties, I didn't do all of that like fun stuff in high school. So I was trying to find like a happy medium. Like, okay, I don't have friends, but like, maybe it'll be a little bit better if I have like a boyfriend and he can be like my friend, whatever. Like, I don't even know what I was thinking, but like I said, I do think that society had a lot to play in it. And in that relationship or in that like friendship, pretty much, um, I wasn't doing anything that you would expect a typical high school girl to be doing with someone that she had been with on and on from like 15 to 17. And that's why I say it was more like a friendship. We honestly just saw each other in school, and then occasionally he would come to my house. Occasionally I would go over to his house, but we wouldn't go on dates. Like, it was nothing cute like what I thought it would be, what I watched in the shows and in the movies. Like, we didn't do any of that stuff. And that's kind of why I say like he was a bozo in that sense, because he didn't make me feel special or anyway or anything like that. And I didn't know any better. Like, I didn't have the greatest role models in terms of relationships. Um, Growing up, like, my parents were together for 23 years, but I didn't know what I expected in a relationship, and I'll get into that a little bit later in the episode. How many of you dated in high school? Leave some comments for me, like DM me or send me an email on my website and let me know, because I'm interested to see how many of you had a long distance relationship or had a long term relationship, short term relationship in high school, how many people you kind of dated. Because it's always fun to hear like other people's stories, and maybe I'll share those stories on the next episode. But it's just so funny, like, being in high school, from hand holding to blushing when like somebody says their name, like that. It's cute, right? Like, looking back on it, it was cute. It's funny when like I used to walk in the hallway and people used to be like, have you seen so and so? And I'm just like, no, 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 I haven't spoke to that person, whatever the case may be. Or like, are you speaking to him? And I'm like, no, it's low key, whatever. Like, it's cute. It's cute to think on it now. But would I have moved differently if I knew what I know now? Yes. Because I missed out on a lot in high school, and that was my fault. But part of it too was the fact that like I didn't know any better. Like, I just did my own thing and I worked when I was able to start working. I started working and I was just going to high school, and that was pretty much it. And it was really like a distraction. So, like, dating him was kind of like a distraction. It was a distraction from my schoolwork, a distraction from my work, and it was kind of like a distraction from my home life in a sense, because I didn't have any good girlfriends that I can kind of like go to and speak to about certain things and enjoy their company. And I think it's really great now that a lot of people are normalizing like galentines and like friendsgivings and all of that, because that wasn't a thing so much when I was in high school, and it would have been nice. And I think if we would have known these things, like if it would have been okay to get a little rose, because I don't know how everybody else's school was, but like Valentine's Day, if Valentine's Day was on a weekday, you would usually get roses from people in school, like whoever had a crush on you, whatever the case may be. And if it would have been okay to get like a whole bunch of roses from like your girlfriends, and you know it not be considered a thing if you didn't get any roses from like boyfriends. Like, I know there was this one girl that she cried one year because she didn't get any roses, and she had been like talking to this boy for quite some time, and he didn't send her a rose, and she just was like, "Oh, I'm so ugly." And then people think that too. Like, people in high school are mean. They're like, "Oh, this girl, she didn't get anything, like she thought she was talking to so and so and he played her because like, it's just stupid high school stuff, but it happens and it sucks, because then people grow up and it's like they still have that mentality where they still feel like, society is putting this on me, where I need to find somebody to love, because if I don't, I will be considered like an outcast, or, I need to lose my virginity by this age, because if not, then I'll be considered like a prude, or, you know, whatever the case may be. And it's wrong, because 9 times out of 10, the average high school relationship lasts like 4 to 6 months. And some high school relationships don't even last like into marriages. Granted, it's a beautiful thing if you've been with somebody from high school and you're able to get married to them and start a family and have children, and you guys have a beautiful loving relationship. Like, that is a beautiful thing to tell your kids, like, we've been together since we were in high school and we've made it work and we've grown together. But like I said, 9 times out of 10, that is, excuse me, I ate quesadillas earlier and now I'm burping, I'm sorry. Like I said, 9 times out of 10, that is not the case. And I definitely think that we should speak more about high school relationships and what is a successful high school relationship versus what is not. Like, I think, and not even a high school relationship, I think in terms of all relationships, success of a relationship shouldn't be determined on how long it lasts. It should be determined on what is learned from that relationship. What did you take away from that relationship if you did not end up with the person, Instead of it being like, yeah, I was with this person for 5 years, because I'm not gonna lie, being with a person that I was with in high school, when I wasn't with him anymore, and even now, sometimes to this day, I still think it was a waste of my time. And it shouldn't be a waste of time. It should be, what did I learn from this? And there's a lot of people that I know that think the same. There are some people that can say, every relationship has a reason, and, it gets me one step closer to the person that I want to be with, or it teaches me something. I'm not one of those people, I'm not gonna lie. If I put my time into someone and it turns out that it doesn't work, I'm most likely going to say I wasted my time, which is bad, because, at the moment I thought that was what I wanted, but that's still, at the end of the day, that's still kind of like how I feel. I feel like I wasted my time on someone else when I could have been pouring that time into myself. Now, after high school, I didn't think that I was going to meet someone right away. I thought that I was about to be in college and have my air quote hot girl summers, but instead of it being a hot girl summer, have hot girl years pretty much, or, just have fun. I didn't think that I was going to enter college and already find somebody that I wanted to be with. But I did, and it was kind of funny because we had like an instant connection, and nothing was physical at all. Like, we would just have these talks because we were in the same summer program for the college that I was going to, and it would just be so funny. Like, we were just cool. Yeah, we were just friends, and he had a completely different high school experience than I did. He never dated anybody the way I did, I should say. But we kind of just like hit it off, I guess you can say. And I hate that word. It sounds like an old people word. But I don't know. I started school and I felt like there was nobody else that had my interest. So why not give it a try and see how it goes? And since then, we've been together, and it's almost going to be 5 years at the end of July. And let me tell you, it has not been easy. And not that it's not been easy on him and I, but outside sources. Listen, I'm not getting into that right now in this episode because it is too spicy to talk about. But you guys are going to have to listen on. Maybe I'll talk about it in like a future episode or maybe later down the line, um, because it is just honestly super, super spicy. I was trying to say earlier in terms of like society and like other people, outside sources were insane when we started dating. And, if I would have listened to the outside sources, or if he would have listened to outside sources, we wouldn't have been together, and we wouldn't have gone through a whole bunch of different milestones that we've gone through, or a whole bunch of different experiences that we've gone through, or even just like growing together, because we are growing together. And I do think that is a huge, huge thing in terms of a relationship. You need to be able to grow together, especially with somebody that you meet super young. Now, I read a statistic not too long ago that said when you move in or you marry someone at the age of 18, you're more likely to break up or get divorced. I don't know how true that is, but I mean, it's a statistic, so it has to mean something. But for us personally, we're still going strong. But we had to go through a lot in terms of our relationship, and we were even long distance for about like 8 months. I had never known anyone to do long distance relationships. That wasn't something that I was ever exposed to, and we did it, and it wasn't even like, sorry, I'm trying to get comfortable. Um, it wasn't even like a long distance relationship that we would still see each other. It was literally like we were completely separated. I didn't have phone privileges, literally, so at some points we couldn't even talk. So it was kind of like being in the military. I've never been in the military, and he's never been in the military, but I'm kind of just going to relate it to that because we literally only saw each other 2 times out of those 8 months, and we could barely speak. Like, we barely spoke on the phone. We were able to like FaceTime sometimes here and there, but we were living in like hard times. It was super, super hard. And again, too spicy for right now, too spicy. But it was super, super tough. And then when I moved down here, then, things started to change. And I was happy because, I didn't know anybody, like I said, that were doing long distance. And I thought long distance wasn't going to work. But actually, long distance relationships tend to have a 60% success rate, which I think is insane. And I mean, we're still here today. we're part of that 60%. I don't know who's been part of the 40%. I'm sorry for you if you have, if you've tried it and it just didn't work. Uh, but a big thing, like with that, like I said before, is you have to grow together. If you don't grow together, then you're going to grow apart. And that's what causes issues in a relationship. Another thing that causes issues is not having your own time to do your own things. And I learned this like the hard way because when I first moved down here, I had no friends down here. I didn't know anyone. Like, I didn't even know what places to go to. I had to drive around sometimes and learn like where the Walmart was, where the Target is, where the mall is. Like, I didn't know anything. And I didn't have any friends. And he didn't have too many friends down here either. But he has such a good connection with his friends back up north, back in New York, that he was like, I don't need new friends. I'm good because, I already got my friends that I've been with, that I want to be with for the rest of my life. Like, these are my bros for life. But for me, I don't have that. And I have friends, but in the past 4 years that I've lived down here, no one has come to visit me. And I'm sorry if you take this offensively, but it's true. Even family. I don't have any family that's come to visit me, and I've lived here for 4 years. Whenever I want to see people, I have to go back to New York. That's another topic for another time. I'm just slipping that in real quick right there. But I didn't know how to have me time. So I had to learn that. And another thing with that is just like scheduling in my me time, letting him know when I'm having my me time, when he's going to have his me time. And we did a very good job of respecting each other's boundaries. And I never had to worry about whether or not things were going to go left with him or vice versa because we did a great job of respecting people's boundaries. I'm sorry, not people's. We did a great job of respecting our boundaries and taking our feelings into consideration, and we both learned to communicate together. Like, he was a good communicator from jump. Me, not so much, but both of us have learned to properly communicate with each other. And if you can do that, like if you are in a relationship and if you found that air quote person that you want to be with, if you have all of that where like you have your own time, where you're not constantly 24/7 with the other person, where you guys do have like some alone time, you do go out with friends, you do certain things, if you are good at communicating, or even if you're not good, but if you've established your boundaries with them and they respect it, then that's totally wonderful. Like 100% I'm with it, because there's a lot of people too that say, "Oh, this is what I've heard in my life. You're young. There's no need to settle down." Literally, I was just talking to my mother about it, and she tells me the same thing all the time. She's like, "There's no need to settle down when you're young. Talk to whoever you want to talk to." And that was always her advice in high school. My dad, I'm not gonna lie, he didn't talk to me about boys or what I should expect or anything. Like, I had zero expectations from my father because he never had those. He never had those conversations with me. But my mother always told me the same thing. Because she was in a relationship for 23 years, she literally always told me, keep your options open, talk to as many people as you want. But then it was always a thing of keep my options open, but don't seem like I'm out in the streets. With that, it was always like, okay, well, which one do you want me to be? Do you want me to be in the streets, or do you want me to be faithful to one person? And even in high school, like, this may be a little personal, but I was with one person and I did not go into any like physical intimacy with that person. So just kind of like, not kudos to me, because in high school I feel like there's also a lot of like pressure for girls and boys to have that like physical interaction or, physical attachment. But for me, that wasn't the case. But anyway, that was always my advice from my mother. And then also, I would get advice from other people, and it would be the same thing like, focus on your career, go to college, be a boss chick, do your own thing, love will find you. And I'm not gonna lie, I wouldn't want that. And the reason I wouldn't want that is because I know personally women that have focused on their career, made decent amount of money, they have everything else. Like, for a man to come into their life would be like a luxury. But they've found men and they're not happy. They don't know how to be in relationships, or they don't know what they want, or now they're starting these relationships and getting married and having kids and they're like 40, 45. I'm sorry, but I don't want to be 45 with like a 1 year old or a 2 year old or a 3 year old. That might sound terrible to say, but I don't want that. Like, I want to be able to enjoy my children when they're young, and I want to be young. Like, I always told my mother, and I don't know if she remembers this or not, but okay, slam the door, wind. I don't know why sometimes that happens. Like, I don't have any windows open or anything, but my door just will close. Maybe I have a ghost. I don't know. But it just be happening. I'm sorry. I love that she had us young. Even though I'm sure she had different plans, I loved that we did a lot. Like, even though my parents' relationship didn't work out and they grew apart instead of growing together, because at the end of the day, they were together since they were 14 and 16. And, it was tough. But for the most part, what I can say and what I'm super grateful for, what I'm thankful that my parents did, is they always made sure we did things as a family. And I'm so, so, so grateful for that, because I had a lot of things that other people didn't have that I knew. I was doing a lot of things that other people weren't doing. Like, we went to Disney when we were kids, we went to Universal. My parents would be the cool parents, like getting on the rides. And all of my friends growing up would always say, "Oh, Lon, I wish I had your parents. Like, your parents are so cool." And I'm not gonna lie, like, my parents, and oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm saying this because I already know that they're like, yes, we were the cool parents. But they were like, we did some pretty cool stuff. Like, we went on vacation, we got to swim with dolphins, we got to go like to Bermuda and swim in the caves. Like, we did a lot of fun things that a lot of people, even to this day, I still don't know a lot of people that have done the things that I've done. My parents both skydived before I was 15 years old. My dad did it first, and then my mom skydived, I think, I want to say when I was like a junior in high school or a senior in high school, for scleroderma awareness, which was for my grandmother. And like, how many people can say that their parents flew out of a plane? Like, they not even flew, they jumped out of a plane. I can't skydive. Like, I have a heart condition, one, and two, I just that's too much for me. Like, I can't do it. But like, my parents were able to do all those things. So I want to be able to do all those things with my kids when my kids come of age, that we can do all these fun things. Like, I don't want to be old and crusty and just like watching my kids on the sidelines. Like, I want to be able to do all those fun stuff. But with that comes having a great relationship. Like, I also want to have a great relationship to show my kids. I want to be a great role model for my kids and show my kids what it really is to love someone, what it is to receive love and love languages. People don't talk a lot about love languages. I think I didn't know anything about love languages growing up. Like, I had never heard that word until maybe 2 years ago when I read the actual book. But I didn't know any of that. Like, and it's so, like, if you haven't read the book yet, you need to because it's so eye opening. But a lot of people don't know what their love language is. And if you don't know what your love language is, you don't know how to communicate that with your person, with your significant other. And then you won't be able to fully love them because you don't know their love language. Like, it's literally game changing. It's literally life changing because once you figure out your love language, and you don't even need to have a boyfriend or girlfriend to read about this book, to do research on it, because you can just find out love languages solely for yourself. I am a big believer on loving yourself, and you can find out your love language for yourself and treat yourself to the things that you like to do. Like, for example, if my love language is words of affirmation, I'm going to write in my journal affirmations that are going to uplift me. If my love language is quality time, I'm going to take a long, soothing bath with no one bothering me, listening to music, or maybe reading a book, drinking a cup of wine. Now, I don't even really drink wine, but like for people, I'm giving you an example. But I think that's a huge, huge, huge thing. And I totally forgot to mention it earlier. But love languages are literally like a life changer because you don't know that in high school. When you start a relationship, you don't know that in high school. Even when I started my relationship at 18, I didn't know that until I was 20, 21. And do I think that like my relationship has escalated now that I know what my love language is, what his love language is, and how we can give to each other, I should say? It's like you just have to read the book. Or if you don't even want to read the book, just like look into it if you don't already know about it because it's a huge thing. And definitely make sure that you are providing for yourself before you are for other people. That's it. If I could tell my high school self that, that would literally be my number one advice. Make sure you are loving yourself before you love anybody else because you cannot love anyone else if you don't love yourself, to be honest. And like I said before, like, it's a beautiful thing to be in relationships. Sometimes people learn a lot from them. Like I said before, sometimes people think it's a waste of time, kind of like how I feel, whatever. But finding someone and thinking that you love them, if you have a healthy relationship, it's a beautiful thing. When you can get married, it's a beautiful thing. When you have children, when you like, that is a beautiful thing, but I wouldn't say rush it. And I don't want to be like those old people that, don't rush, take your time, because I definitely do think too that if you found your person, don't listen to outside sources and like wait forever because then you could potentially miss something. Or you could have just been taking opportunities together as a whole that you wouldn't do if you were not together. Um, but if you feel like you're not ready or you feel like you haven't found that person or, you know, whatever it may be, don't worry about it. Like, it's fine. Don't think because society forces this whole like fairy tale type lifestyle that you need to have it. You need to have met someone by the age of like 28, whatever. You need to be married by the age of 30, buy a house, have kids. Like, don't focus on all of that because whenever things are going to come is whenever things come. And that's pretty much it. That's my take on whether or not relationships are overrated. I would love for you guys to comment and leave me DMs, like I said before, or enter like a submission on my website on your opinions and, your relationships, because I would love to be able to share that in the next episode. But with that said, thanks so much for listening, and make sure you tune in next week for a new episode, as well as a bonus episode, because every single month, at the end of the month, I will be doing a mini-sode, which is going to be super fun. You have to follow my Instagram so you can get the sneak peeks on that. So if you're not following my Instagram yet, please make sure you do, because I'm going to be talking a little bit more about that on there. But anyway, thanks for joining me again, and I hope everyone has a great rest of their week.